An injured AEW star is facing major surgery. Plus, future plans for an NXT title have been revealed, and there are big plans for a returning WWE team. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Another update on Thunder Rosa to get us started. We know that the journey back it's been a long one so far, but it looks as if it might get longer still.
Yeah, she's been saying it's been really dark, especially when you think you've been making the steps to coming back to the ring, and the pain does not leave your body. I've done pretty much everything to avoid certain things that you don't want to do, like surgery, but there are talks about to go back to have back surgery. Some weeks have been very, very dark, and I feel like I'm never going to wrestle again, and some other weeks things are going really well. But when I get in the ring, that's when it's not well, and you have to be realistic. Oh, well, yeah, she might be back, she might not be back. It sounds a bit bleak, that, doesn't it?
It does sound quite bleak, unfortunately. So, yeah, she's been away for a good long while now. She was, originally the plan was to make the AEW Women's title an interim reign, so when Thunder came back, she could pick up the pace. And when they realised this was going to take longer than thought, it was just said, "Nah, we'll just make this the reign now and get back whenever you can." But she's been backstage at AEW. She talks in the interview that she did that she has indeed been behind the scenes doing stuff in production, and but she says like it's not quite the same.
Obviously, it wouldn't be. You know, she had such a long journey to get to where she got to in AEW. Like, is one of the two linchpins of the division for a point in time with Britt Baker, and it's obviously to see things unravel like they have, and it's quite sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's a great chat that she had with Conrad Thompson and his team, which you can check out right now. And we wish her all the best. At her best, I think Thunder Rosa's a fantastic character, and I think she's best as a bad guy. I personally think. I know it's a bit out there, but I remember when she turned up in the National Wrestling Alliance, and she had very much a bad guy lilt to her there, and I quite liked it. It's just like this sort of unpredictable monster type.
Well, I prefer her good guy Dr. Pepper, Tom, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not your bad guy lilts there. I prefer a good guy Dr. Pepper.
Tastes great, less filling.
It's an interesting one, though, because when she rocked up in AEW, when people saw and appreciate what she brought to the table, and obviously the face paint and everything, the theme tune from Mikey Ruckus, it was all fantastic. The pop she got was the loudest arguably in the division outside of Britt Baker. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear you say about a heel and a lilt.
I just liked it's a totally tropical taste. That's all I'm saying. It's been some rough news stateside for AEW, because we've been talking for the last week about the numbers for Wembley and how it's looking like it's going to be probably the biggest wrestling show in the UK, maybe of all time.
Yeah.
Certainly close to SummerSlam at this rate as it's going. Difficult numbers back home. WrestleTix are reporting that Double or Nothing, their pay-per-view at the end of this month, is at 69% nice capacity.
Nice.
They've sold the show on April the 5th. The show sold around 6,585 tickets. Since then, they've moved just over an additional 200. This is something that has come up a few times in conversations around AEW and their success with Wembley. A lot of people can't make the connection because, well, hang on, if they're doing these great numbers in the UK, why is domestically their numbers not as big as they should be? And it genuinely just does come down to the fact that we're just starved of wrestling.
Yep, that's it.
That's it.
That is it. That's the end of the news.
And that's the end of the news. Impact ran Wembley Arena and sold that bugger out, like, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting whilst we are talking a lot about AEW's incredible numbers for Wembley, I think the Wembley show is going to be amazing. I'm really up for it. I think it's worth a conversation about how one of the bigger shows of the year is sort of getting lost in the shuffle of it all, and it's probably not shifting as much as they would have hoped.
Yeah. I don't know what else you say outside of what you've already said, Tommy, because you've covered all the bases very well.
Well, let's move on to another base that is Impact Wrestling. Some exciting news for Impact. We talk about international markets and how, because it's something that WWF did, just to jump back to that. Like WWF back in like the sort of the 90s, especially the late 90s, mid to late 90s during the New Generation era, where domestic numbers were down, they could come to the UK and sell out the Shields ice rink, or the Whitley Bay ice rink, sorry. They'd sell that out in no bother. I think it's a common thing where, you know, if you want to just sort of shake up sort of interest, you go international. To that end, where are Impact Wrestling going, Ross?
The city of Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. That's a new one for me, Australia, for 4 days of activities starting on Thursday the 29th of June. The Impact Tour, supported by the NSW Government Regional Events Acceleration Fund, and 2 marquee wrestling shows will be held on Friday, June the 30th and Saturday, July the 1st, both at the Equex Centre.
They're heading down under Impact Wrestling.
Wagga Wagga, New South Wales.
I love the names of places. in Australia. It just I was by the end of the holiday I was just making them up, just going Balanga Baloo. Linga longer. Like, there's reasons.
That's terrible, Tom.
I know, right?
I can't condone that.
Do not condone it. Do not condone it. But it's again an amazing crowd that are starved of wrestling from stateside, and I'm excited to see what Impact do over there. I like the idea that they're going to run possibly some, when they say marquee events, this might not necessarily mean pay-per-views, but it might mean Impact Plus specials.
Yeah.
They're always good fun to do as well.
Days of activities. They could be like egg and spoon races with the superstars.
Colouring in. We're going to build camps. Now, this is happening to replace New Japan's plans for touring Australia. They were due to do the Oceania Cup, and that's been postponed. So I believe some agreement has been met where Impact are going over instead. You'll have a great time with Impact.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I'm very envious because Australia, there's a little place in my soul that now is in Australia still. Like, it's beautiful.
He spent a month there, didn't he? Was it February?
It was back at end of February to early March. Beautiful. I just absolutely fell in love with it, and I'm desperate to get back out there again. And I might just hide in Jeremy Borash's briefcase. No, he's WWE now. I can't do that.
I was going to say.
Oh no, I'm in the wrong briefcase.
Scott D'Amore's
Scott D'Amore, of course. Scott D'Amore. I forgot.
Get yourself in Trinity's handbag.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Whee!
I'll do that. That'd be a lovely day. Let's move back to the US. Let's talk NXT. Update on the plans for the women's title.
They've been revealed on the 98.5, the Sports Hub, whatever the bloody hell that is, and they've been confirmed by NXT's Twitter account. The opening round will see Gigi Dolan take on Tiffany Stratton, Roxanne Perez take on JC Jane, Lyra Valkyria take on Kiana James, and Fallon Henley take on Cora Jade.
Now, the tournament will culminate at Battleground on May the 28th.
Let's try and predict it, Tom. Tiffy Stratz goes over against Gigi Dolan.
Yeah.
Roxanne goes over JC Jane. Lyra goes over Kiana. And Cora Jade goes over Fallon. Tiffy goes over Roxanne. I'm going big, everybody. Cora goes over Lyra. Tiffy Stratton is your winner at Battleground against Cora Jade.
I think Tiffy Stratz is not a bad shout.
She's the future.
I think potentially, because how they've placed it is... we've got Gigi Dolan on the... Actually, no, because both Gigi Dolan and JC Jane are on the same side. I'd love to see Gigi go the distance, but I feel like, as you say, this is Tiffy Stratt's tournament to lose.
I don't think they've got much stock in Gigi after watching this JC Jane feud.
No.
You know what I mean? I thought she would just batter her, and that'd be the end of the feud.
No, and it's and Gigi, and I think Gigi's money. I really do.
Yeah. I
think there's something there. Tiffany Stratton or Cora Jade. I think if not Tiffany Stratton, then Cora Jade to take the title. I think at Battle Grind. PW Insider have said that WWE are very delighted with Damian Priest, particularly after Backlash. There's been praise internally for Priest for everything he's done to quote level himself up and quote be seen as one of the top level players going forward. And I completely agree. Priest versus Bad Bunny was an exceptional bit of business.
Oh, absolutely. I know Bad Bunny's not a complete novice at what he was doing in the ring because he can do everything very, very well indeed, as we've seen multiple times now over the past couple of years. But for Priest to carry someone like that to a match of that ilk with that big house, like all the pressure that must involve, especially being from there, all that sort of stuff, he probably is. And it's not just what he did on Saturday, it's everything. Because for a long stretch, I saw him as the leader of the Judgment Day because he got most of the promo time. I know that sort of changed more recently with Finn Balor maybe coming to the fore, Rhea Ripley as well. Not Dom, the little scrot. But his promos where he was just like, and that's your neighborhood bad people, the Judgment Day. He's talking like an insurance salesman, but it's the Judgment Day. It's fantastic stuff.
And there, that little moment where he and Paul Heyman shook hands, and that made everybody go, oh, he should be a Paul Heyman guy. Just frothing at the mouth. He should be a Paul Heyman guy. He's not the only one getting plaudits from behind the scenes at the moment, is he, Ross?
Yeah, Worked Wrestling on the Twitter machine are saying, excuse me, I'm getting the positive vibes backstage as well during the house show events, and those behind the scenes hoping that the team's character work picks up steam with the live crowds. It's a weird one because they've been doing very good stuff on the YouTube channel, on the website, but it hasn't been translated to TV. So they can get those online segments onto TV, and I think people will just get on board with it.
Yeah, I'd love to see what they're doing on the telly because they are the most fun. Marche Mansoir and the crew. More of them, please. From one team to another, big plans for a returning team. We saw The Way together. Way! for the first time on Monday Night Raw post-draft. And as promised last week, Work Wrestling also say the Way have reunited. Triple H and company have big plans for all of those involved. In the segment, we saw Johnny Gargano excitedly saying how we're back together, and we've just got to get him.
He'll be back soon.
He'll be back soon. And they're like, oh, I don't know.
I was thinking it must be about Theory, because Theory's on SmackDown. Theory is Johnny's and Candice's son, biologically speaking. But it's not, is it? It can't be.
Nah.
He's at the brand split.
Do you know who it is?
Their big bald baby.
Tommaso Ciampa,
Their
baby.
other son.
Is their other son? I think Gargano's talking about Ciampa.
Yeah, DIY reunion.
Yeah, and that's why they're unsure, because Ciampa was not a member of the Way. So therefore, but he's going like, I want all my mates to get on. You know, it's like when you invite a mate out for a drink, and then you invite another mate out for a drink, but they don't know each other exclusively.
Oh, yes.
So you're just hoping that the little spark happens and everyone has a nice night, or it's just really awkward and you have to spend all night just forcing conversation at one or the other. We've all been there. I think Ciampa joining the Way and being super serious, and they're all being fun-loving criminals, I think is great.
It writes itself, doesn't it?
It writes itself.
Get them back to therapy like they were in NXT. Remember those segments? Theory and therapy with the Way. It was fantastic stuff back then.
It's so good. Well, okay, we'll see what happens with that one. In case you missed it, I had a chat with Savio Vega last night. We saw him pop up at Backlash. It's on the podcast feed right now, as is a lovely chat that I had yesterday with Zach from Downstage. There he is.
Cody Rhodes.
If you ever want to know the passive-aggressive reason behind the woe in that song, listen to that interview.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's not just a woe for woe's sake.
No, there's a very passive-aggressive reason for it, and the story behind how it came about is in there as well. It's on the podcast feed, and you can watch it on the Patreon. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, you can check out Cultaholic.com.
Because Zach's guitarist was playing too quick, wasn't it? Whoa! And then we go at the normal speed.
You ruined it now. Now no one needs to listen. Stay safe.
Whoa, slow down. Take the day easy, right? It's okay. It'll happen. I don't know what I'm doing.
I thought you'd done a positive affirmation.